Let's dive into joint research and utilization on the ISS with our moderator, Dana Weigel, ISS Program Manager at NASA. Please join me this morning in welcoming Dana and her guests to the stage.
Good morning. Thank you all for joining us today to hear a little bit about international collaboration on board station and some of the exciting future efforts that are in the works for low Earth orbit. I'm Dana Weigel, the NASA ISS Program Manager. I'm based at the Johnson Space Center. You know, when we designed the space station many, many years ago, it was intentionally designed to be interdependent across the partnership, meaning each partner provides something very unique. As an example, NASA provides power for all of the users. Roscosmos provides the propulsive control. Canadian Space Agency provides the arm. So each one of our partners provides something very unique, and no one can operate it on its own. And so today I'm joined by a panel of my colleagues to share with you some of the unique things that they're contributing and that they're doing. And so I'd like to start off by doing some introductions. Right beside me here, to your right, I have Masaki Shirakawa. He is from the Japanese Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA. He's the Deputy Director for the ISS program. He is also the Director for the Japanese Experiment Module Utilization Center.
Thank you.
To Shirakawa-san's right, joining us from European Space Agency is Fabio Caramelli. He is the manager of the Space Rider project. To his right, from Canadian Space Agency, is Mathieu Caron. He serves as the agency's director for the Astronaut Corps, for Life Sciences, and for Space Medicine. Matthew, you've got some big fans out there. Let's see, from the Italian Space Agency, joining us is Luca DeFino. He is their utilization manager. Special guest joining us from UAE is Haza Al-Mansouri. He is part of the first class of astronauts for UAE. He flew to the International Space Station on a short duration mission. We call it a spaceflight participant. In 2019, he is currently serving as the Astronaut Office Manager for the UAE Astronaut Corps. I'm going to start off asking our panel members a couple of questions, but at the end, I'd like to invite the audience to ask questions. So along the way, please use the app. Please submit your questions, and remember to state who you'd like to have your question answered by. Why don't I start off with just a couple introductory remarks across the panel, and I'll start off with Shirakawa-san.
Yeah, thank you very much for your introduction. Good morning, everyone. My name is Masaki Shirakawa of JAXA. Some 20 years ago, I stayed around here for JAXA's sabbatical leave program. So I'm very honored to be here again in Boston to be as the panelist at this main session. And my job is to promote and expand Kibo, utilization of Kibo as widely as possible. Kibo has very unique capability of research and development in using microgravity and the space environment. And we are promoting the three pillars. One is scientific research, technical demonstration and development, and as well as the commercial utilization of the Kibo. So I'm very excited to share our activity with you today. Thank you.
Fabio.
Yeah, first of all, good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for your invitation to this great get-together. My name is Fabio, as you know, and I work at the European Space Agency. I'm in charge of the preparation of the first mission of Space Rider and to fill up, let's say, the cargo bay of the vehicle together with, let's say, promotion on the name of the agency of a possible future commercial preparation for the vehicle. In partnership and in collaboration, hopefully, with the international entities. Space Rider is a re-entry automated unmanned vehicle. It has a size of about 1 cubic meter cargo bay, which is now, concerning the first flight, nearly filled up with payloads. And the vehicle current, let's say, design concept is to simplify as much as possible any re-entry capability the vehicle has by a design based on existing elements already space qualified by the agency. And our desire is, of course, to develop, let's say, the capabilities of this vehicle towards, let's say, the next era of commercialization or micro-G, let's say, activities, which is the original vocation of Space Rider project. Thank you very much for your attention.
That's you.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here in beautiful Boston. I had the privilege to work on the ISS program for, I think, 25, 26 years, mostly in robotics, but now I serve as the director of the Astronaut Life Sciences and Operational Space Medicine Office. In our team, clearly, we have astronauts, but we also have teams of medical specialists that make sure that they remain healthy before, during, and after their missions. But the reason why we're here is that we also have a team of mission scientists and engineers responsible for selecting within the Canadian research community, like projects related to health and life sciences, focused on identifying, characterizing, and mitigating the adverse health risks associated with space flight. And really, we have our teams of engineers working with our international partners to make sure that we can take those smart ideas in the throughout Canada and implementing them on the space station. So it's a pleasure to be here with you this morning.
Luca.
So thank you for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here and to represent ASI. I'm quite new in this role and in the Italian Space Agency, but as a utilization manager, what I do, it's letting possible for the Italian scientific and technology and industry community to let their science being possible on the space station. And what I do is coordinate all the integration processes, all the pre-flight, on-orbit activities, and post-flight to let all these activities possible. And this is done thanks to our cooperation with ESA, of course, because we, ASI as founders and one of the major contributors to ESA, fly payloads with ESA. But we, as Italian Space Agency, we have a special, let's say, relationship with NASA, because we have a direct agreement, and so we have a quote of NASA resources on the ISS that let us do our science on orbit. Thank you.
Haza.
Thank you, Dana, and good morning, everyone. I'm really delightful to be here today in Boston. This is my first time in Boston. I love it. Definitely, I'm not missing Houston. The weather. Basically, in UAE, we started the astronaut program back in 2017. We kicked off the program with selecting 2 astronauts. One of them is me and Sultan, who did the 6-month duration last year. And since then, we had 2 missions, and now we are really looking forward to fly again in the future. This is why I'm here today in Houston to train and to continue the training and to learn more about human space flight. Basically, my job as an astronaut manager is to be here in Houston as a link between MBRC and NASA to look for opportunities in future for flights, and also to continue the training. Next week, I'm going to have another mission or training at MBL, Neutral Buoyancy Laboratory. So this is type of training that we are conducting here at NASA. And usually my kids asking me, Dad, what you are doing as an astronaut? I'm doing everything. I am the plumber, I am the scientist, small scientist, but still, I am learning about how to conduct science on board the station. I am the photographer, I am the reporter, I am the commander, maybe follower sometimes. So paramedic, so it's a very interesting job, and we learned a lot. And through this international collaboration, not only with NASA, with our partners from around the globe, we learned a lot about human spaceflight.
Thank you all again for joining us. Let's see, Shirakawa-san, I know that we've had a lot of scientific discoveries on board with Kibo. Could you share with us some of the highlights?
Sure. Yes. Last year, JAXA and NASA had a joint rodent mission using our Mars Habitat Unit. In this mission, mice were reared under 4 different gravity conditions. I mean, 0, 1/3, 2/3, and 1G. And I believe this was the biggest or largest life science experiment ever conducted in the Kibo module. This is just achieved by international collaboration with NASA. And the results are currently being prepared for publication, but I heard from Japanese PI who is doing analysis on muscle, and that the very clear dose response to the gravity level is observed. So, and US and Japanese investigators will present at this year's ISSRDC in December. So I'm very excited to see the entire result of the mission. And also, we already completed our 1/6G rodent mission by using both conventional, our centrifuge, as well as the new large centrifuge. And the same PI reported last year at this ISSRDC that he found that some threshold of the change in muscle characteristics is observed, clearly observed, and that result is already published in the paper. So combining this result, I expected to this mission can raise a scientific foundation for the future exploration to Moon and Mars as well. And let me add another example of the astronomical collaboration because yesterday we can receive the award for the MAXI. So JAXA's MAXI is a pathfinder of X-ray monitoring, all sky X-ray monitoring, and when it detects some event, something like a burst, a very rapid change, then MAXI will deliver the alert to the world. And we have established the on-orbit transmission path from MAXI to NASA's NISA, so that NISA can start its observation immediately after the MAXI detection. And about 1 minute was already achieved, while previously it took about 3 hours. So we couldn't, 3 hours may miss the opportunity to very rapid change. So I think this is a good example of international collaboration as well. And thank you very much for the award.
Yeah, thank you. The interface and what we ended up being able to do between JAXA's MAXI instrument and between NASA's NICER instrument's really impressive. It really enhanced what we could do in terms of studying neutron stars. So Thank you for sharing that example. That was a great collaboration.
Thank you.
Let's see, Fabio, I'm very interested in this Space Rider project. And by the way, whoever picks your names, that's top notch there. That's a great name. I'd like to hear more about it. Tell us about the Space Rider project and any of your goals that you have for science and research in LEO.
Daniel, thank you very much for this opportunity. Space Rider is, as I said, an automated transfer and return vehicle, unmanned. It is not part of the ISS big family, although it is one of the prominent, let's say, ESA projects so far. In fact, Space Rider is the most advanced, let's say, re-entry vehicle project at ESA at the moment. Our purpose, our vocation is, of course, to, let's say, support and eventually complement, what would be, the next future activities on micro-G, microgravity, let's say, business. And for the moment, let's say, the first flight of Space Rider foreseen in 2026, begin 2027, is heavily backed up by the agency because, let's say, as a part, let's say, of the agency mandate is, of course, to take the risks and, let's say, the burden of any qualification flight for a new endeavor. Space Rider has a capability of about 1 cubic meter volume and 600 kilograms of payload. At the moment, our cargo bay is nearly, let's say, all booked. And we are in a phase where we are preparing, let's say, the integration phase of the payloads into the vehicle. That phase is actually comparable if you want to, let's say, make reference to our standard, let's say, project phasing to a phase D. The vehicle now, we went through the CDR, the system CDR last year, and the vehicle is being manufactured. One of the major challenges from a technical standpoint of the vehicle is the landing, because, contrary for, let's say, the majority of the re-entry vehicles nowadays, Space Rider is supposed to land on a landing strip. Landing on a landing strip means, of course, advantages, but also challenges. We are, let's say, endeavoring, since February 2024 until November 2024, a whole series of landing tests, starting from MCR representatives of the vehicle, then let's say culminating to the test of a flight representative vehicle landing through a paraglide. The landing will be taking place for the first mission at the same place where Space Rider is launched, and that would be the European launch base in French Guiana, in French territory, so that we're preparing the landing strip there to allow the vehicle for re-entry. And concerning, let's say, elements less technical but more connected to, let's say, the future of the vehicle, it is fundamental for us to seek for collaboration and partnership at the international level, because our ambition is, of course, to contribute and complement what would be, let's say, the next future and the next era after the ISS activities.
Very interesting project. I wish you the best of luck with your upcoming development work and launch. That'll be neat to see. Let's see, Mathieu, can you share with us some of CSA's collaborations on board station?
I'm sorry?
Some of the collaborations that you've had on board Space Station?
While getting ready, I was trying to think of one of our projects where we didn't have to collaborate, and I couldn't come up with one.
Didn't have to.
Exactly. Didn't have to.
Didn't need to.
Exactly. So collaboration has been an essential part of our success. So as I mentioned, we're focusing our research on health and life science, as well as doing things that can increase medical autonomy on the space station, but also future missions. And really, when you look at health and life science, basically the challenges faced by all the agencies for keeping our astronauts healthy, well, it's all the same, right? Canadians are no different. We may say sorry a little too often and care about hockey too much, but from a space mission standpoint, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. So clearly, we have to collaborate with each other. I was looking at our various experiments since the beginning of the space station, and Canadian researchers have participated in over 100 investigations on the ISS 36 of which were sponsored by CSA. So that means that clearly there's been a large level of collaboration. It can be co-eyes, researchers collaborating, directly, but also in the implementation. I was thinking of a few of our experiments, like marrow, vascular aging, et cetera, involves blood draws. So we found ways to, for instance, I was thinking we collaborated with JAXA to share those blood draws to make sure that we maximize or we minimize crew time impacts, and I'm sure astronauts appreciated fewer needle pricks as well. And when that blood was drawn, well, we had to process it and store it, and those involved like all NASA facilities, the Melfis, et cetera, the centrifuge. That was one aspect that clearly, without collaboration, would not have been possible. We've collaborated with Roscosmos, with the Radiant 2, over a decade study that ended in 2020 about the nutrient environment on the International Space Station, where we had like a Canadian apparatus that was installed in the Russian segment, but where we would deploy periodically bubble dosimeters throughout the USOS segment to investigate that. So again, a good example of collaboration between the agencies. And other projects, for instance, the vascular series, where we collaborated closely with ESA and the CNES to use the echo ultrasound device to get a little smarter on that. And just the launch, the maintenance, the operation of this device required like close collaboration. We had also Vection, where actually some of our scientists used apparatus that was used for the grip and grasp ESA study to be able to really essentially took most of the same hardware but applied it in a different way. So that was a good example of how we did things. There's no way we could have done things alone. And the final example I'll give is the CIPHER complement, which is an exciting approach where it's led by NASA. I think it's 14 studies now. I lose track, but that look at an integrated approach to see to pinpoint what's exactly happening to the human body during long duration spaceflight. And 2 of those 14 experiments are Canadian, T-bone 2 and vascular calcium. So again, it just shows that together we can achieve so much more than we can alone. So thanks.
CIPHER, you mentioned that's a pretty important experiment for Moon to Mars as well. So a lot of the work that we do on board Space Station is really trying to help close some of those gaps. We're really hoping we can learn a lot more about the human body, about mitigations for spaceflight for longer and longer duration flights. So appreciate your collaboration with us on that one. Let's see, Luca, what's OSSI's vision for research in low Earth orbit?
So talking about research in low Earth orbit, we believe, we at OSSI believe that the cooperation and collaboration, it's really important to do such kind of research. The ISS is the best example of this. It's a perfect example of multilateral cooperation effort from various agencies. And we think that as we did in the past, even the future must be like this. We started to, of course, we are just already thinking about the post-ISS scenario, and we are trying to coordinate an effort to the transition to the commercial LEO operations that will be, and this must be done following the same cooperation model that we followed in the past, because it has shown that this is a winning model. So we started this kind of, let's say, new path with the participation of the Italian Space Agency to the Axiom 3 mission. It was, even on the Italian side, it was a cooperation with the government and the Air Force, and we were able to fly a lot of experiments from ASI side, most of them were focused on the studying the effects, mitigating the effects of the space environment on human health. So this is what we are looking at for the future, and of course beyond LEO, we are working on gateway with ESA and Artemis with NASA. So we are even thinking about beyond LEO.
Thank you very much. Let's see. Haza, you bring a very unique perspective to this panel since you've actually flown in space. Can you talk about some of the research that you did while you were on board?
As you mentioned at the beginning, it was a short flight, about 7 days, back in 2019. And it was the first mission for the United Arab Emirates at that time. So we were still starting to learn more about human space flight and how to do collaboration with agencies and countries all around the world. And it was a successful mission in general. On board the station, I did multiple of experiments. One of them I would say is that I really liked is time perception experiment. It is very interesting. So they want to understand how spatial orientation that we had at the beginning of the mission when we are on board the station at that time going to affect the time perception. And it was really interesting to do that experiment before the flight, during the flight, and after the flight, and to see the differences between how we perceive time when we are impacted by spatial disorientation that's happening on board the station at the beginning of the mission. And other experiment, also the fluidics, which is ongoing experiment till today, which is a very interesting experiment from ESA to understand more about fluidics and the impact of microgravity in fluidics and the slush impact also on the satellites. And the membranes, also protocols on that aspect. So it was a very interesting experiment that I conducted on board the station. Also, as astronauts, we are also the part of type of experiments, cardiovascular, where we understand how microgravity, fluid shift that's happening in our body is going to impact the health of astronauts in short duration and also in long duration missions.
Thank you. Let's see, Shirakawa-san, can you tell us about your plans for Kibo utilization through the end of the decade?
Yes, we are considering to promote on two pillars. One is of course, we'd like to use Kibo as much as possible to its full extent because Kibo has very unique and valuable research capabilities. So we'd like to use as much as possible while it exists, because that we don't believe that this might be a final occasion to just preparing the future experiment. So we continue to making announcement of opportunities for utilization of Kibo, anticipating the very high impacted sciences as well as the benefit on Earth. The other pillar is preparation for post-ISS. Because this very unique capability or unique research platform, we'd like to continue to use as much as possible, even on post-ISS stations. So we are considering to add or make some advances, such as the autonomous operation by robotics or by artificial intelligence. And we also want considering to some more flexibility or portability by changing the size or reducing the size or having common interfaces so that we can bring any stations possibly. So, and also we continue to promote or sustain commercial activities of the Japanese industries. So we currently have the government of Japan established a new budget, a new funding mechanism. So JAXA can happy to support these activities. So the that is industries might have a very good opportunity to increase their activities. So we're happy to support that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Happy to hear we have similar shared goals about maximizing what we can do on board station. And I know we've got a lot of work that we also do inside Kibo. So that's great to hear. Let's see, Fabio, I'm curious if you've learned anything on station that you think is helpful in your efforts with Space Rider.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you very much for the question. At the first place, I would say that it is thanks to the fantastic achievements of the ISS that Space Rider exists, because eventually, let's say, our vocation is to, let's say, support the microgravity, let's say, evolution, let's say, the microgravity business and, you know, technical and science research evolution in the future. Let's say, we believe, we are pretty convinced, also based on the recent fantastic results, take, for example, what Redwire has recently done, that, let's say, there is a need to, let's say, for a transition. And transition will be not only connected to further and more, eventually more fantastic, let's say, science and technology research results, but also towards, let's say, a phase where these results will be put in practice, in place for the benefit of humanity, and let's say, put in place, you know, with a more commercial, let's say, mindset. Now, Space Rider is not going to be the final response to, of course, and it does not want to be the final response to this commercialization, but we would really like, and we believe we are preparing, you know, by design and by, let's say, preparation, also from a business development standpoint, to join that transition, to bridge, let's say, what has been the big achievements of the ISS so far to what will be the future of new manned stations, by offering a solution which is possibly somehow not at the same level of capabilities of a manned stations, but for sure at a more simple, let's say, level of implementation, at a faster, let's say, capability of flight, and eventually overall as a good support to the major activities that will be taking place and carried on by the new stations. So the bridging and the idea of the bridging towards the transition and towards the commercial future, I mean, this is what we would like to join, together with all the other, you know, unmanned platforms that, of course, let's say, being prepared worldwide. Is that right?
It sounds like a very interesting and unique capability. I like the idea of kind of a simplified, you know, streamlined approach to it. Very interesting. Thank you. Let's see, Matthew, how about CSA's plans for the next 5 years?
Well, thank you. So clearly we're going to do lots of robotics, but we're here in the ISSRDC conference, so we'll focus on the utilization. So far, our focus has been on health and life science research, and we intend to continue in that direction. Clearly, you know, we had some experiments ongoing, so having that ISS extension will allow us to complete those. We talked about participation in the Cypher complement. So that's also very important to us. But now we'll be releasing some announcement of opportunities to keep doing research. But now that we've been doing this for a while, one of the challenges that we'll put to our community is say, okay, now is there anything that we can propose to make things better? We've learned a lot over the past like 10 years or so. Can we propose new solutions? Another thing is, well, okay, we have a wonderful laboratory facility right now with the ISS, but is there things we can do a little differently to better prepare for instance, our utilization activities on the Gateway? Can we adapt some of the research that we're doing on the space station to the platforms that are emerging that could lend themselves to research that would have to be tailored to it? So that's another thing that we have to, so like, shift our thinking a little bit. An example of applying sort of the lessons learned is that we've completed a year ago a widespread bed rest study to look at proposals for exercise regimes to try to mitigate the effect of microgravity. So it involved a lot of folks on the ground, but now we're at a point where we are ready to propose a test on the ISS to see if we can do a different type of exercise sequence to improve things for our astronaut colleagues. As that's the, for those who are maybe familiar, that's the microgravity research analog, or MRA. But also we found along the way that research is one thing, but like developing new instruments to facilitate that will also be helpful. Not only to facilitate health and life science research in space, but also to develop, to enhance medical autonomy for astronauts, so making things more convenient in low Earth orbit, but also to solve problems that are otherwise unsolvable for beyond low Earth orbit exploration. Like we're looking right now, we're using heavily our biomonitor system, which is a smart shirt that's instrumented to allow us to collect data during the astronauts' daily routine. I believe it's next year now, but we'll have the MicroPrep launch. MicroPrep is the microfluidic sample preparation device, which is essentially automates a lot of the things that need to take place whenever you do blood draws and so on. So that's a platform that will enable us to take a blood sample, for instance, and use it to centrifuge it, mix it with reactives, store it, like separate different aspects of it. So really trying to take a lot of what we do right now that takes a lot of crew time and that requires significant training, and try to automate that. We have ground-based models, but space is hard. So taking that existing design and implementing in space has been quite a challenge, and we're happy that we're nearing the goal there. Another aspect is the Canadian Active Neutron Spectrometer that's building on the successes from the Radiant 2, and really down the road we're looking at the Gateway station, so an implementation on the Gateway where the radiation environment is significantly more demanding on systems and humans alike. But before we get there, we have to test it on the ISS. So again, we're so fortunate to have this facility in low Earth orbit that enables us to get smart before we venture a little bit further out. So that's it in a nutshell.
Sounds like a lot of great work that's going to help us overall moon to Mars, both on the human side, trying to get a lot more of our capabilities on board, which will be helpful as we explore further and further out. So very interesting. Thank you for sharing. Let's see, I'm curious, Luca, if Ozzy has plans for payload facility type work for joint collaboration in the future.
Yeah, as I said before, we believe that collaboration is very important in this environment, and we are at the moment we are like developing an experiment that is called Aphrodite. It's a technological demonstrator for an automatic device that can analyze like saliva and this kind of things. And this, of course, will be very important to let the astronaut independent on assessing their health when they will fly farther than low Earth orbit. And another experiment that another facility that we are developing that is aimed at joint, because it's a facility that hosts, but it's developed to host biological experiments. It's called BioRider. It's going to fly on Space Rider because we are funding the experiment of the maiden flight of Space Rider, and one is this BioRider experiment, and that will fly for its first flight with the if I remember well, 4 different biological experiments. So this is quite an important facility, and that could be even reused in other contexts, such as Gateway or lunar habitat. And but another thing that's worth to say about joint utilization is not only to develop facilities or payloads that could be used by other partners, but the other things is, that I think is very important. It's sharing the data that one collects with our payloads. So, for example, we are we are operating with the radiation detector on the ISS in Columbus since 2020, so since 4 years now. And it's called LIDL. It's like an advanced radiation detector. And we are participating with the LIDL data to the NASA Open Science database that is RADLAB. That is a joint effort to put all the radiation measurements on the ISS together and available for everyone, for biologists, for anyone who's doing science and that want to know these environmental radiation measurements on the ISS. And the other thing, someone was talking about this before, is like one thing that could make a lot of experiments easier. It's like sharing and blood samples from astronauts. This will be very important for everyone because you optimize crew time and stress on astronauts. You take the blood and you use for multiple analysis from all the partners or the international partners that want to collaborate on this. So I think this is, again, the cooperation and collaboration is the focus of everything.
You make a great point about it's not just facility collaboration or the execution, but there's an awful lot of data available, an awful lot of opportunities to share that and reach a lot of different investigators.
Yes, and working on letting this data available for everyone, and even one of the difficult part is letting, like the example I was talking about, it's difficult to share radiation data that comes from physicists, so a kind of peculiar community, and to share with biological communities, so biologist community is a different one. So letting these things easier to share, it's not an easy task, but we can work on it.
Yeah, agree. Let's see, Haza, curious about your experience both during training and also in your support. I know you were a key leader for UAE on the ground during the Expedition 69 mission. If you could share with us a little bit about your experience.
Sure. At the beginning, I want to say thank you for all of you here, scientists, researchers, because you keep us busy on board the station, we love it. So last year I was the increment lead for increment 69, and it was an eye-opener for me personally, and to know about the ground teams that they are working 24/7 to make sure that this great platform, the ISS, is running efficiently and keeping us up there in a safe environment and also ready to conduct science and experiments on board the station. It was really a great opportunity to see what type of experiment conducting on board the station. And one of them is really what I was really interested about and was very interesting is to witness the 3D printer, the bio 3D printer for meniscus printing, which is really great to see that because my colleague Sultan, he worked on that also. And we can understand the impact of that type of experiments, these type of opportunities. And the International Space Station gives us this unique perspective and unique environment, microgravity environment, where we can conduct, experiment, and apply new technologies that maybe it is difficult or challenging on board here on ground. So we learned a lot from that, and from that point, for us in UAE, we are looking forward to what we can contribute in future, what we can do more to be part of the science community here at NASA and also on the International Space Station in general. And beyond that, we are looking at Gateway. So, you know, by now, the United Arab Emirates is officially partnered with NASA in building the airlock for NASA for the Gateway. So that's a great opportunity for us to be part of that new platform in future and to contribute more also. So it's a great opportunity for us in UAE to be part of all of this endeavor. Space is great, but the greatness of space, I believe, is the collaboration that we are seeing every day from different countries, from different agencies, brains coming together to solve new and tackle new issues to help us live a better life here on ground. So UAE is committed to continue this endeavor with the space community, and you will see more of us in future.
I have to say, I'm also very thankful that all of you in the room keep all of our crew members busy. And it is exciting, and I'm glad you mentioned the Gateway collaborations. International partnerships, international collaboration continues to be very, very important, and I think we're doing a great job in our efforts with Gateway and Moon to Mars and keeping that strong and adding to the partnerships, which is really important. Let's see, I think we've got a few minutes to take questions from the audience. If Sandra is out there, maybe we've got a few questions.
Yep, that actually leads in perfectly to our very first question, which is, what are your individual priorities for the future of low Earth orbit and beyond into exploration missions? So maybe we start with CSA, and if other folks want to hop in, feel free.
Okay, well, really, it's, I'll go really quickly because to leave enough time, but really it's, again, building on our past successes, health and life sciences, continuing in that direction, collaboration, but also building and designing new instruments that facilitate research, but more than that, that will enable astronauts to maximize their medical autonomy. So right now, the really neat thing about health research, and in particular medical autonomy, is that it has applications not only to space missions, but also to remote communities in Canada, where, you know, like access to medical and other healthcare processes are much more challenging. So that's we're always looking at the holy grail of research in space is to find something that is not only relevant to space exploration, but also to our taxpayers back on Earth. And that really, that's an area that's a key priority for us.
Okay, great. Our next question is, how does commercialization fit into your agency's vision for the future? JAXA, do you want to take that one?
Thank you very much for your questions. And as I mentioned in my talk, we are considering to promote 3 categories of utilization and science, technology demonstration, and commercialization. The commercialization, the one is biggest our interest to emphasize on to utilization. And as I mentioned, the government of Japan has also interested in the increase these activities and supporting the Japanese industry. And that is to anticipating to the future expansion to the post-ISS. So we are already doing some support, but we'd like to continue, for example, reducing the utilization cost, or some streamlining of the process, or some support to the, For example, the human safety is important, but very many challenging for new industries to use the ISS. So we are coordinating such customers to smooth utilization. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is for Hazza, and they are asking if you could comment on how programs like Carmen Fellowship, Space Generation Forum, and the International Space University are helping to foster international collaborations.
In general, I believe these initiatives are really important because if you want to invest, I think the most important is to invest in the next generation, is to make sure that the spark is there, and it's already there, but we need to make sure the momentum is continue with the universities and all the initiatives around us. So it is really important to be part of these initiatives and to be present there and to let them also be part of our community in general, from universities and also before that, from schools. So all of these initiatives, I think it's important. And to tackle that, and I remember my mission back in 2019, we compare it to Apollo era here at NASA. We felt that impact back in UAE and the region because that was the first mission happened in 30 years. There were, back in 80s, there was 2 flights from the region, but it died, that momentum, and then it came again. And the beauty of that also, the commitment of continuing the flight, human space flight. We saw Saudi Arabia also last year. They did a flight also, a short mission with Axiom, and also with also Sultan's mission as a 6-month and the first Arab spacewalk. So that is really important to keep that momentum, especially in regions like UAE around us. Yeah.
And I think that is all the time we have for questions. We really appreciate you all submitting them. And of course, thanks to our panelists. I'll turn it back over to you, Dana.
All right, thank you so much, Sandra. Thank you for your interest in your questions. Special thanks to our panel members representing JAXA, ESA, CSA, ASI, and UAE. We really appreciate hearing your unique perspectives, what you have going on now, and the exciting things that you have in store for the future. Thank you so much for your continued partnership, for making ISS a success, for helping us with commercial low Earth orbit as we find our way through how to go into the next phase, and also for all the work you're doing with us from Moon to Mars. So thank you very much.